listening to Coffee and Conversation with Recovery Advocate Network, the nonprofit organization that strives to address the staggering disparity in resource availability for individuals suffering from mental health disorders, processing disorders, addictions, trauma healing, and sexual identity challenges. Together, we strive to end the stigma associated with these challenges so that true healing can begin. Welcome back to Coffee and Conversations Between the Lines Blog Club series. This is episode number 40, where actor Max Martini will read Joshua Young's blog post entitled Unseen Wounds, A Journey from Invisibility to Healing. Max Martini has appeared in over 100 different projects during his 42 years of acting, including prominent roles in films such as Saving Private Ryan, Captain Phillips, Pacific Rim, and 13 Hours. Max is also known for his roles on 24, The Purge, NCIS Los Angeles, his 4 seasons as Mack Gerhardt on the CBS show The Unit, and most recently playing the role of Detective Don Ellis on the hit show BAWSH Legacy. Outside of acting, writing, directing, and producing, Max is passionate about supporting veterans, first responders, and individuals with disabilities suffering from traumatic brain injury, PTSD, substance abuse, homelessness, and mental health challenges. We want to take a moment to acknowledge the amazing and compassionate work Max has done with Warrior's Heart, Higher Ground, and the Gary Sinise Foundation. The links to these 3 charities are listed in the show notes. Between the Lines episodes are written by guests who prefer to use their written voice instead of their interview voice to share their stories. As a reminder, the views expressed in any blog are the views of the author, not necessarily the reader, but the author, and the purpose is to provide a safe place for the author's voice to be heard. So, what are we waiting for? Fill up your coffee, sit back, and let's get started.
The weight of my past had always been a heavy burden on my shoulders, and for years, I felt like a ghost, invisible to the world around me. Nobody knew the pain that I carried, the scars etched into my soul by years of childhood sexual abuse. It was a secret I had guarded with all my strength, even as it led me down a dark path of depression, suicidal ideation, and ultimately alcoholism, as I desperately tried to numb the pain that festered within me. I had hit rock bottom when I finally made the life-altering decision to get sober. It was a journey fraught with struggle, withdrawal, and self-doubt, but I knew it was the only way to break free from the cycle of self-destruction I had found myself trapped in. Still, I couldn't bring myself to share the source of my pain with anyone, not even my newfound friends in Alcoholics Anonymous. One day while attending an AA meeting, I crossed paths with a man who would change my perspective on life. We struck up a conversation after the meeting, and as we talked, I learned that he was a veteran who had served in the military and had been through the horrors of war. He shared with me that he had been living with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder for decades, yet he lacked the motivation to seek help for most of that time. As he spoke, I couldn't help but see the parallels in our stories. We were both haunted by invisible demons, suffering in silence, and attempting to cope with our pain through destructive means. While I had turned to alcohol to numb the anguish of my past, he had found his own ways to escape, but they were equally damaging. What struck me the most about this man was his resilience. Despite the decades he had spent in isolation, battling his inner demons, he had eventually found the courage to seek help. Therapy and compassion had played a pivotal role in his healing journey, helping him break free from the shackles of his past traumas. He told me about the community he had found at the Veterans Affairs Hospital, where he had finally mustered the strength to share his story with fellow veterans who understood his pain. It was a place where he was no longer invisible, where his experiences were validated, and where he received the support he needed to rebuild his life. He also shared that as he became more informed, that there were more groups out there to support him in his recovery beyond the VA. Communities of selfless individuals willing to help veterans heal and thrive, such as the Gary Sinise Foundation and Wounded Warrior Project, to name a few. Listening to his story, I couldn't help but be inspired by his resilience and the transformative power of therapy, community, and compassion. But I still wasn't ready to reveal my own hidden pain. I continued to attend AA meetings, finding solace in the camaraderie of my fellow recovering alcoholics, but I couldn't bring myself to share the truth about my past. After my first year in AA and experiencing multiple relapses, I remained trapped in my silence, still haunted by the memories of childhood sexual abuse. I had managed to put together a few strings of sobriety, but the emotional scars continued to fester beneath the surface, threatening to pull me back into the abyss of depression and full-on addiction. It wasn't until I fully embraced the power of AA that I finally found the strength to open up. One day while working the steps with my sponsor, overwhelmed by the weight of my past and the fear that I might relapse again, I confided in my sponsor as to the root cause of my drinking and depression. Tears streamed down my face as I bared my soul and revealed the dark secret I had carried for so long, the sexual abuse that had scarred my childhood and led me down the path of addiction. My sponsor's response was not judgment or condemnation, but unwavering support and compassion. He encouraged me to seek therapy, to confront the pain that I had buried for years. It was a daunting prospect, but I knew it was the only way forward. Therapy became my lifeline, just as it had been for the man I met in AA. It was a journey into the depths of my trauma, a painful process of reliving memories and emotions I had long tried to suppress. But with the guidance of a compassionate therapist, I began to untangle the web of my past and rebuild my sense of self-worth. As I progressed in therapy, I started to attend a survivors support group. It was there that I found a community of individuals who had experienced similar traumas and were on their own paths to healing. Sharing my story with them was a daunting but liberating experience. For the first time, I felt seen and heard, no longer invisible in my pain. My journey to recovery was not easy, and there were moments of suffering. But with the support of therapy and the compassion of my newfound community, I gradually emerged from the shadows of my past. Looking back on that chance encounter with the veteran in AA, I realized the profound impact it had on my life. His story had been a beacon of hope, showing me that even after years of suffering and silence, it was never too late to seek help and find healing. His journey had illuminated the path I needed to take, and I was grateful for the lessons he had unknowingly imparted. Today, I am no longer invisible, and I no longer bear the weight of my past in silence. Therapy has been a critical tool in my healing journey, allowing me to confront the pain of my childhood trauma and rebuild my life. I have shared my story with loved ones, and their support has been a source of strength and resilience. The man I met in AA continues to be a source of inspiration for me. His courage in seeking help after decades of suffering serves as a reminder that healing is always possible, no matter how long we've carried our invisible wounds. We both learned that therapy, community, and compassion can light the way out of the darkness, away from the path of self-destruction, and toward a life of recovery and hope.
Thank you for joining us today with your coffee and conversation. We hope you've been encouraged and learned something from today's story. To learn more about today's guest, please check out our show notes for more details. Now it's time to remember to like this episode, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you do not miss future episodes. Recovery Advocate Network envisions a world where individuals with mental health challenges receive comprehensive and effective treatment without the worry of financial burdens to themselves or their families, all without the stigmas often present in society. We are proud that every individual worked with RAN does so on a 100% volunteer basis. You can support the mission by making a financial donation via PayPal or Venmo, or email donate@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org if you would like to donate items for our next fundraising auction. Please visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org to learn more. Now, stay in the loop about upcoming events, future episodes, and more by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all major podcast platforms. As a reminder, the experiences and advice expressed in this episode are the host and guest's own personal stories and do not represent the opinions of any organization mentioned. RAN is passionate about opening the doors for all voices and experiences, not just those expressed in any particular podcast. If you want to share your experiences or expertise, we encourage you to be a future guest by emailing us at podcast@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org or submit a blog by emailing blog@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org. We also encourage you to comment on the episode so that we can continue to provide content that is most beneficial to the community. How do you do that? Visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org, and in the top right corner, click that comment button and comment. So listeners, what do you need to do? Pause what you're doing, subscribe, follow us. Please give us a like and a 5-star rating, write some meaningful comments, and most importantly, share these episodes with your friends. You never know whose heart you will touch, so please be a part of a reason someone has new hope today. If this episode was triggering to you, we encourage you to contact your support system, therapist, national and community support groups, the Global Crisis Text Line by texting 741-741, and/or if in the U.S., dialing 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you're in the U.S. and need additional resources such as shelter, support group resources, transportation, food, and/or a safe, confidential path out of physical or emotional domestic abuse, please call 211 or visit www.211info.org for assistance. Now, we know you are very busy, and we are grateful that you said yes to sharing time with us today. If you stuck to our 3 C's of engagement and listened to the full episode, then visit the podcast section of our website and leave the comment about the podcast, and you'll be entered to win an autographed copy of one of the books from one of our book club series, as well as a coffee and conversation coffee mug. So thanks again. Until next time, back to your coffee.